For more, we're joined by Treasurer Josh Frydenberg in Brizzy. Good morning to you, Josh. Thanks for your time this morning. Boy, oh boy, I don't know who hit harder last night, Meghan Markle
morning,
or
Karl.
Julie Bishop. Which one did you watch?
Well, I was on a plane actually from Townsville into Brisbane, having been in Cairns as well yesterday. So I was in your old hunting ground, Karl, as opposed to turning on the ABC or Oprah Winfrey.
OK, here's what Julie said on the ABC about the culture in Canberra last night.
Well, actually, I believe it was big swinging dick. So there was obviously an overexcited imagination on the part of some, I would suggest. But if they were seeking to block my aspirations, well, they didn't succeed, because my ambition was to be the Foreign Minister of Australia, and I'm very proud to say that I served in that role for 5 years.
Yeah, she gave extraordinary insight, Josh, into her political career. A group of men within the party repeatedly tried to block her career. They've failed, but she's still angry. Doesn't that illustrate the cultural problems that still exist within Parliament?
Well, there certainly is a need to improve and change the culture in Parliament. That's why the Prime Minister has reached across the political divide. That's why the Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Kate Jenkins, has been put to work to undertake a broad-based review and to speak broadly across the Parliament. That's why one of our colleagues, Cecilia Hammond, a former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Notre Dame, who's got this experience in dealing with similar issues in an institutional setting, is now working with our colleagues, and that's why the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet is also undertaking a review. There is got to be no stone left unturned in improving the culture and improving it fast.
She says Colonial inquest should happen. Do you agree?
Well, the Prime Minister has said that Christian Porter would cooperate with any such inquest, and of course no one is seeking to stand in the way of that. There's a separate issue about a separate parliamentary-led or initiated inquiry by the Prime Minister. We don't think that is the right way to go, and I understand that the former President of the Law Council of Australia has said a similar thing, because you can't have an independent inquiry where a criminal charge is being alleged, but yet the police who look into it don't actually lay any criminal charges. That is our criminal justice system, which must be the predominant and only way that these matters are dealt with. OK,
let's move on. When JobKeeper comes to an end, do you have any idea about what the unemployment figure will go to?
Well, what we do know is that Treasury had forecast that even when JobKeeper ends, that the unemployment rate over the course of the year will steadily come down. And we saw more recent forecasts from the Reserve Bank of Australia saying that the unemployment rate, which is at 6.4% today, will reach 6% by the end of the year. I do think it will be bumpy in the months of April and May, and we may see some challenges there. But the reality is, JobKeeper was always, Karl, a temporary program. It's the most expensive program that the government has ever undertaken. It supported 3.6 million people, but we also know that 2.7 million Australians have already graduated off JobKeeper. Yesterday I was in Townsville meeting with a construction company who had done exactly that.
I mean, I know also that there are some businesses who are not going to make it, and they come from those particular areas of Queensland. What do you say to a business that will have no choice but to close when JobKeeper ends? You're going to say to them, look, don't stress, you can get $350 on JobSeeker? I mean, what do you say to a business, a family? They're talking about families here, hard-working families.
Well, of course, our job is to try to preserve and create as many jobs as possible across the economy, and we've actually been doing that in the face of the biggest economic shock since the Great Depression. The Prime Minister and I and other ministers will have more to say in coming days about extra initiatives on top of those ones that we have already announced. But we realise that there are sectors and there are regions that are doing it tough. But the best thing we can also do is keep those domestic borders open. It's a message I heard in Cairns yesterday from many in the tourism sector. While they are reliant on international tourism, they also benefit from domestic tourism. And with the rollout of the vaccine, if we can stop those short border lockdowns, that will give a lot more Australians the certainty to pack their bags, hop on a plane, take a holiday, and then of course spend their hard-earned money.
The reality is, though, I mean, and it's good to hear that help is on its way. We look forward to seeing what that help looks like in the next couple of days. But these places need the international borders to open. What's the timeline there?
Well, again, it's going to depend on the health advice, and you've seen what the cost to the economy is when we get an outbreak, and that has led to statewide lockdowns or even to more quarterised, smaller regional lockdowns. You've got to get it right, and that's why you've got to take the medical advice. That's why you've also got to put in place the proper quarantine arrangements. And we're looking at issues or opportunities like the vaccine passport and the like, but we can't move too quickly and therefore compromise the overall stability of our system.
Look, 2 weeks of quarantine too is a massive, it's a massive problem for the tourism sector as well, which we'll have to work through. You're also looking at apprenticeships as well to try to beef that up.
Yeah, we are, and the Prime Minister's making an announcement about that today. We did announce last year support with a 50% wage subsidy for 100,000 apprenticeships. Well, that was taken up in 5 months, and that's really good news. We're now supporting more than 220,000 apprenticeships. This is really important because they are going to be our longer-term workers of the future, and if you can get them in at the bottom level as an apprentice and keep them in even during these challenging economic times, then that's going to be not only good for them, but it's going to be good for the broader economy. And so this is an important initiative. Again, we're pouring billions of dollars into supporting our new apprentices, whether they are in the trades or whether they are in the hospitality industry or in a whole range of areas across the economy.
Good on you, Josh. You having a cup of tea with Anastasia while you're there?
No, I'm not, but I am speaking at the Chamber of Commerce here in Brisbane this morning, and it's been a great trip in Townsville and Cairns and here in Queensland still for a few more days.
You should be catching up with Anastasia. She's the Premier of the state. Come on.
Well, I'm meeting with lots of colleagues of mine. That's been my priority.
Oh, okay. There you go. Good on you, Treasurer. Good to see you. Still to come.